Restoration Singers. Thank you, Janet, for your reflection. And thank you all for indulging my obsession with International Pig Day. So I'm from a very dusty place in the world. West Texas is full of dirt and grit and dust. The running joke is that we grew up with a beach, but no water. So growing up, I hated being dusty and feeling dirty. And when we would go to church for the season of Lent, it starts with Ash Wednesday. You get a cross put on your forehead, and scripture is read about ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Remember that you are but dust, and to dust you will return. And I was like, oh, why does it have to be dust? But I learned about Lent, and the practice of Lent is a season of preparation before the holiday of Easter. And traditionally, you're supposed to give up something or fast in some way. So Catholics fast from meat products for most of the season. So oftentimes that involves giving up pork. This is what we heard from Janet. But you don't have to just fast from food. You can give up other things, is what I was taught. So I did a few things. I tried to be vegetarian one year, and I started losing too much weight to play basketball and football, so I had to give that up. I could give up sodas, which has gone very well. I still don't drink a whole lot of soda. I tried to give up homework one year. That did not go as planned. Miss Stanley, my art teacher, was the only one who was even willing to entertain the thought. But then one year I said, you know what? I'm going to give up chocolate. I'm going to give up all caffeine. And we'll see how that goes. So the point of fasting is, of course, to help sharpen your mind, in some ways purify your soul, but it's to get your mind right, to live in a more balanced way. Right? This is what our Muslim siblings talk about with Ramadan. The season of fasting is to help you feel more connected to the holy and to one another. National Pig Day is about celebrating the uniqueness, the wonder, the splendor of the pig. So what do the two have in common, the season of Lent and National Pig Day? Both ask us to rethink our connections, I think. To rethink our connections to the animal kingdom, to one another, to the ground upon which we walk. The fasting and the giving up of meat is a way of saying, hey, remember, you are but dust. You're different than the animals, but you're not that different. Lent reminds us that people are made of the same stuff as animals. Lent says you are but dust, and to dust you shall return. National Pig Day says those animals that live in the dust, you're one of those too. The dirt and the humanness of us, right? There are a lot of myths and creation stories that talk about people being made of the clay. Lots of indigenous stories, Greek creation myths, biblical creation myths. They remind us of our connection to the earth. The stuff that makes up our bones. There's a poem I like that speaks about the same stuff that makes up the cores of stars is the stuff that inhabits your bones. And the same stuff that inhabits the guts of worms inhabits you. Act accordingly. That's kind of the point of Lent, this connection to the stuff that we try to feel not connected to, especially our earth. So I want you to think about this. When was the last time you were really connected to the earth? Physically, intimately. Right? Our ancestors used to have a much different connection to the soil. When's the last time you were barefoot on the grass, sticking your feet in the sand or in the dirt? We put up all these barriers between us. My boots, my socks, this carpet, the ground, the basement. Right? I'm on the earth, but I'm not in connection with the earth. The soles of my feet aren't touching the soul of the earth. The soil, the soul, the souls. There's some kind of connection there, I think. So Pig Day and Lent. It's about fasting, cleaning, purifying. I don't know. What I learned about Lent was that it's not necessarily about what you give up, what you fast from. The other half of Lent is what you take up. What is the new practice that you do? What new charitable actions are you doing? What new connections are you making? It's this cycle, right, of balance and getting back to what's important, getting back to being connected. And there's a rhythm to it, right? So our siblings who celebrate Mardi Gras or Carnival, there's this one huge day of excess called Fat Tuesday before the season of 40 days of Lent where you're supposed to fast. I think that's probably a good ratio for a lot of things. One day of excess, 40 days of hay. Tone it down. I didn't ever understand the theological significance of that until I fasted for Lent and I gave up all caffeine. And I was only supposed to do it for 40 days, but I was in high school and I felt really good. I felt a lot healthier, so I said, okay, I'm just going to keep doing this. And so for a whole year, I didn't have any caffeine in my system. And it was wonderful. I was sleeping well. I felt more athletic. But then, on a year to the day of the next Easter, we had a trip to a fabulous restaurant called Chili's. And if you've never been to a Chili's, let me explain something to you. You can get whatever you want there, but you have to get, for dessert, a molten chocolate lava cake. And if you have not had caffeine or chocolate for a year, the temptation that you are supposed to fight for Lent comes in the form of molten chocolate lava cake. And if you have been an athlete for a year not having caffeine, and the world and the universe presents you with a chocolate molten lava cake, you're going to have just one bite. At least just one bite. But then, it tastes really good, so you have another bite. And that tastes so good, so you have another bite. And before you know it, you've not eaten only one chocolate molten lava cake, but 2 chocolate molten lava cakes. And now the caffeine has hit your system, and you are in Mardi Gras mode. So let me tell you, the crash the next day after I didn't sleep that night and the withdrawal really put me into a season of Lent, where I said, oh, I need to fast and purify from this. That cycle didn't have theological resonance for me before I really experienced it. But it's helped me to think about being in balance and being in connection with my own body and not treating it that way, and to be in connection with our earth and not treating her that way. So I looked at the example of the pigs on National Pig Day. Right? We heard some of the facts. My conception of pigs is that they're dirty and dusty and they're covered in mud. But that mud has a point, right? Pigs get dirty with a purpose. They root around and they make the mud to help them stay clean and cool and to protect them from sunburn. They embrace the dust and the mud and the dirt as part of their balanced spiritual diet. The pigs get clean by getting a little dirty. They're connected to the dirt, but they don't become the dirt, if you get my meaning. It asked me to rethink my impact and connection on the world, my interconnection with the environment, with my own body. It helps me to think more about our animal brethren, how my diet impacts the world at large, how my love of hamburgers and pork barbecue may not be the healthiest lifestyle, not just for me and for others. So I'm not asking you to become a vegetarian or a vegan from now on. I'm not asking you to radically change your entire lifestyle because of one sermon. But in this season of Lent, one of the things we might learn from it is try a small change. See how it makes you feel. And when it comes to a time to eat the chocolate molten lava cake, whatever your version of that is, take it easy. Don't go overboard. We try things a little at a time. Because the other half of Lent is to build spirituality to grow in spirit, to grow in depth, to grow in love, to grow in connection. So I don't know what that looks like for us as a community. If we all tried something to make us feel a little bit more green, a little more environmentally conscious, maybe it's a vegetarian coffee hour every once in a while. Maybe it's being conscious of how much plastic we use. Maybe it's being intentional about going out and sticking our feet into the dirt. I don't know. But I think we could find out together. Because it's not about necessarily what we give up. It's about what we take up. It's about the practices that help us feel more aware of that need for balance, the need for connection. It's the things that we take up to help welcome our guests who will stay here for a month. It's not necessarily about what we give up, but it's about growing in spirit. And it's about recognizing that there's a balance between being the dust and being dirty all the time. That it's okay to be dusty, to be muddy with purpose and intention. But it's not the dust or the dirt, I found, that you have to give up to make you a better person. It's the mud that you take up to protect you and to help you live more fully. That's what the pigs have taught me. How to grow deeper in connection, relationship, and love. May we go and do the best we can and lean on each other and take care of one another in this season. May it be so. Amen.